Welcome to Season 3 of the M-W Tactical Podcast. Sit back and enjoy the conversations of the mad scientist and myself as we discuss the sport of shooting, goals, training, and everyday life. You are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. What's up, good people? We're back at it again. Another installation of the M-W Tactical Podcast. And once again, we have another show for the week, and we hope we entertain you to the fullest. This week's show is sponsored by Blazon, is a title sponsor for the South Carolina sectional taking place at Belton, South Carolina, 30 April through 2 May. Registration is open for that match. And please, I am asking everyone, please go sign up for this match so the mad scientist can stop trying to tackle me, put me in the headlock. He's trying to hurt me. I don't want to get hurt.
I've been working on it.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get hurt. People, help me out here. All right.
Mike's a big dude.
Blazon, everybody, please go check out Blazon Apparel for all your shirt orders. And they have a friendly staff that you might start talking to them and you don't want to hang up the phone or leave their shop. But Blazon Apparel here in Columbia, South Carolina. Look them up. All right. Once again, as we already stated beforehand, the South Carolina section is taking place 30 April through 2 May. Registration is open, as we spoke earlier. And at the same time, we have the match shirts that will be online if they're not already online. I just can't remember the exact time frame when Lucky told me that he was going to post them up. And I must say, those match shirts are hot.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, it's going to be in the next day or two. If not later this afternoon, man. They're going to be up soon.
Man, oh man. I was like, woo, those are the hotness right there. So if anything, head on over to the Facebook page, 2021 South Carolina Section No Championship, and check out the stages that are being presented along with the match shirts. All right. Moving forward, bringing in the one, the only, the mad scientist himself, the one who actually turns the screws, bends the wrenches, and actually gets my gun up to championship quality. Dave. What's going on, Dave?
What's going on, Mike? I try not to bend wrenches too much, but I have bent a few of them before. Broken some C-clamps, and, things happen.
I bent the screwdriver last week.
A screwdriver?
Yeah, well, it was a little one on the 3D printer. So I ended up getting a 3D printer, and I'm trying to learn how to do all that stuff so I can start doing stuff on my own. And I bent the screwdriver. I didn't realize I did it. I was like, man, I don't even know my own strength.
Dang.
What's going on right here?
Like the Hulk.
Oh, man, yeah. That used to be my favorite superhero when I was a kid.
He's my favorite right now.
Really?
Yep.
I don't know. I think, like I said, I started off with the Hulk. Then I faded to Batman, then Spider-Man, then like Wolverine, then back to Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying?
I think I like all those guys, but the Hulk, it fits my mentality. I think I don't know. I try not to show it a whole lot.
Oh, when you get mad, you turn green.
But yeah, sometimes you won't like me when I'm angry.
Now, would you believe me if I told you the comic book Heroes, all that was started and based off of the racial inequality?
Oh, what? Which ones? In what way? I'm sure all of them weren't, but
okay. So
when they got started,
Magneto and Professor X, that was characters based off of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Okay, from the X-Men,
right.
Some of the original Marvel characters from the X-Men.
Right. I can't remember how the Hulk was explained, but it was the way it was explained to me was, like how you can be humble, and then once you get upset, you start speaking and you get excited with your emotions. And then other people try to come back and say, oh, look, you're being irrational. You're being overbearing. You're being rude. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, well then I'm just gonna smash you.
hey, that's it. That's how you do it. Right. All right. But yeah, like I said, that was like a little lesson. And actually Stan Lee was the one who said that in one of his interviews. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So when he said that, I was like, oh man, I never equated that. And then when you
No,
go
I
back
didn't
and you
either.
look at it and start weighing it out, and I was like, man, okay, it does make sense for that to take place like that. All right. So moving forward, this is the lady of M-W Tactical, the one who does not draw fire anymore. She hasn't shot a match since December, but she did go all out for 3 kids' birthdays in 1 week. And then she had a birthday earlier in this week. So for everybody that did say happy birthday to Coach B on social media, thank you for that. But without further ado, Coach B. What's going on, B?
Hey, Michael. Hey, Dave.
Coach B,
She didn't tell
happy
you
birthday.
She just woke up off the floor. You know what I'm saying? So
On the
like
floor.
Yeah, she came in and was like, "We doing a podcast? Yeah, we're gonna do it." She went straight to the floor. And I was like, "All right, we started." And she wakes up.
Congratulations on another birthday, man. It's
Yeah. So, how's
everybody
everything going
doesn't get
since the birthday?
It's been good. I'm tired. Stayed up late last night
Partying like a rock star, huh?
celebrating. Yes.
Rockstar.
Yeah. So apparently you had a hard day at work. So, like going to bed. You went to bed after 12. You said.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I haven't been up that late in 10 years.
Oh,
I wouldn't make it. I would just pass out wherever I was.
Oh man.
Around
oh, man.
8:39 or so.
So
We'd have to carry me to bed.
It wasn't necessarily by choice, but Michael and I and the kids were up talking, and it just kind of.
No, I left. You stayed up a little bit later after I left.
No, you left at midnight.
I didn't realize it was midnight when I thought it was legitly 10 o'clock. So
Right.
But when I left, I did come home. I went straight to bed. And then when I spoke to you, you was like, it was a little bit after 12. And I was like, holy cow, you're up there partying, huh?
I used to do it, man. I have done it. I'd stay up till the sun came up, and then we'd go to the flea markets and go shop around in the morning. And that's it. Not anymore. That was a long time ago.
Now, I can tell you, when I first joined the military, we used to do stuff like that. Literally stay up all night, go to the clubs, hang out all night, leave the clubs, go someplace else, party some more, then go straight to PT formation the next day. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the clubs we went to was like on a Wednesday. It was like the spot that was jumping on a Wednesday. So, Thursday morning we go on the PT formation and half the people hung over but still running like the distance they gotta run. So
you got a lot of guys throwing up on the halfway through PT.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
So what's anything? All right, so let's put it like this. If you had 3 birthday wishes right now, what would your 3 wishes be?
It's hard for me to count. There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Probably that I wouldn't have to go to work any longer.
Okay.
After today.
Oh, so you want the retired life?
Yeah, the retired life.
Financially stable.
Okay.
And be financially stable. Yes.
I like that.
So that's one.
You want one of these guns? Well, that might come with financial stability, right?
That's there. Right. Yeah, I could buy that.
Atlas Nemesis I'm working on right now for a friend of ours.
What's your number 2 though?
What's my number 2? I don't know. I guess honestly, probably that my kids are healthy and safe.
Okay. But let's say it's about you. Let's come back to that. You got 2 more wishes to think about. We're gonna hit you up later on.
Personal birthday wish. It's got to be about you on your birthday.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So like for mine, it would be. I think I would want to get an RV. One that's big enough that has a bed that I can fit in. I don't got to sleep from corner to corner, and I travel around and do competition matches.
Have you ever had an RV before?
No, I didn't, but I had one family member that did, and then I have a couple friends that all do. Okay. And of course, my buddy Maj Teray, he has one also. So when he came to South Carolina, I was like pretty much touring his, and I was like, okay, all right. But it wasn't enough to make me be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get one, because I think it's better to go ahead and get like a hotel room, drive.
Yep. Go ahead and get you a little rental car and go to a hotel room or fly or whatever. Dude, I had an RV and I had that idea too. Mm-hmm. And I will never own an RV again.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about that one. We're gonna talk about that one offline. Because actually I told Coach B a while back, and I want to say it was like the beginning of last summer. We was driving up to one of the matches. It might have been Belton or Spartanburg. And I was like, I think I want to get like a small RV, like medium sized one, whereas we can like drive around and, you know, bring everybody that wants to go to the same location. And it's like a clubhouse on wheels, just going to a match.
Yeah. They may, I don't know. They might have their place and they may work in some instances.
The only thing I think
it didn't work for me, man.
Yeah, I think the RV, I think it's more issues will be with an RV, just me thinking. And I think the issue is that it's doing more sitting than, you know, on the road driving and operation like it should be, you know. So that's my thought. But like I said, I never dove into it, but I do want one. But the other half of me, like, I don't want to put in the work to upkeep it either.
I tried it and drove it across country, and I'm glad I'm mechanically inclined.
I think the maintenance with it would be part of the problem.
Might be. I don't know.
I just remember one point we were making bets on what was going to break next. Like, we had a hat on the floor of the RV. Like, while we were driving down the road, we were tossing money in there, making bets on what was going to be the next thing to break on the RV. And we ended up tying up the muffler with some wire that I cut off of a whisk, you know, like a kitchen whisk, you know, and you know, it blew off and the muffler fell off, and then I don't know. Wow. You can have your RV. I'll meet you there.
All right, so then let's do this. Let's go ahead and hop into a quick commercial break, and then we're gonna come back and hit up these talking points, and then find out what's Coach B's other two wishes that she would like to have for a birthday, you know, moving forward in life, you know. So please, everybody, go ahead and stay in them seats. If you're in your vehicles, tighten up those seat belts, roll up the windows, turn on the heat or AC, depending on where you are in the country, turn up the volume, and here are a few words from our sponsors.
Mental health and guns. At Walk the Talk America, we are working with both the mental health community and the gun industry. Created by a gun industry veteran, Walk the Talk America seeks to raise awareness and create change through suicide prevention and firearm safety without legislation. We strive to eliminate the prejudice that firearms and mental health face. For more information and to support Walk the Talk America, please visit walkthetalkamerica.org.
JM4 Tactical has developed a state-of-the-art polymer holster that will quickly become your go-to holster. With high-quality Herman oak leather, securely sewn to the interior of the molded outer bolt-on shell, your draw becomes silent and no more scratches up and down your firearm. When seconds count, you can rest assured that you will have the upper hand when you need it most. Whether you carry open or concealed, the Relic holster is available in 4 different models, fitting over hundreds of different style guns. The new reliable, easy, light, individual carry holster by JM4 Tactical. Order your Relic today at jm4tactical.com.
What's up, good people? This is Michael Woodland from M-W Tactical.
This is Coach B from M-W Tactical.
And we are asking for your help with 2 Gofundme campaigns that we have started. The first one is we are making a professional movie, and it's going to be about our day-to-day life within the sport of shooting. Details about this campaign can be found by visiting gofundme.com/we are making a professional movie. The second campaign, we are asking for you to donate to give financial assistance for those who cannot financially get the training they deserve. Remember, there are a lot of first-time gun owners out there, and I am asking for everyone in the gun industry to come together and make our community stronger. For more details, visit gofundme.com/free firearms training.
Remember how important training is to keep everyone informed and safe.
All right, good people, we're back at it again, and thank you for sitting through the commercial break. And if you took notice, we have a new commercial with Walk the Talk America. So remember, we had Michael Sedini, the founder of Walk the Talk America, on the podcast where we interviewed not too long ago, and we actually picked up the commercial spot, for Walk the Talk America. So I'm glad that we are able to do that for Walk the Talk America.
That was a great show.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was also. But I can tell you this. Every time I link up with Mike, and even if it's in passing, we are guaranteed to talk for at least 45 minutes to an hour. Every time. It was never one time where it was like, hey, give me 5 minutes, I'll be right back. Literally, we would start talking, and it's like 45 minutes to an hour, maybe more, just depending.
Oh, man, there's so much to talk about. Stuff happens so fast now. So there's so much to cover and talk about.
Oh, yeah. So like I said, he's a great guy. So if anything, please head on over to Walk the Talk America and check out what all they have to offer as far as help within the firearms community, giving options, And also, speaking on that, we're going to get Rob Pincus on the show here in the next upcoming weeks as well. So I think that's going to be some interesting conversations right there as well. Before we dive into these talking points, let's see if Coach B actually has 2 more birthday wishes she wants to talk about.
I think my second one would be a beach house.
A beach house.
Oh, man, that's excellent. That's an excellent one.
Yeah. The water, the sounds of the water. How close is the range to the beach house?
If you're at Low Country Preserve, then you're right there on the coast, not far from the range.
Yeah, you got a point there.
North Carolina. It's up there. It's quiet. The beaches are quiet there.
What's number 3?
Number 3, probably a mountain house.
Oh
wow, you're doing real estate.
Okay. Where's the range in the mountains?
Yeah. Okay. Now, when I came back from one of my trips overseas, I went to the mountains and stayed in one of those cabins for a week, like straight.
It's pretty awesome.
Didn't have a cell phone. Like, they had a TV in the cabin, but I didn't turn it on. Legitly, I just lived like that for a week, So it was pretty fun, though. So why beach house and a mountain house?
Well, I am a Pisces, and I'm a true Pisces. So water is my thing.
Oh, okay.
So that would be my number 1 place if the opportunity arose, is to live on the beach, at the beach.
So if you had a choice between beach or mountain, and those are your only 2 choices, which one would you choose?
Beach, definitely.
Beach?
Yeah.
I think I would choose mountain.
No.
Yeah.
I'm bored in the mountains.
I mean, I like
it. I like it, but I'm just, no, I'd rather be at the beach.
Okay. What about you, Dave?
I would choose the mountains, man, because that being bored is what I would
enjoy. Endure.
I'm never bored.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always stuff going on in my head, at least, if nothing else. So I'm never bored. My wife and I have found this little cabin in Asheville, North Carolina. It's right on the French Broad River. It's a little tiny place. It's actually like a single wide trailer that they have converted and to make it look like a cabin. but it's so close to the French Broad River that the deck they built out from the side door is on the water. Like there's no land, no dirt between the side of the deck and the water. And there's a little like small rapids area right out in front of the cabin there. And it's amazing. And there's no TV in the house. And
see, there's water there though, Dave.
There's
water.
Water and a little bit of rapids there, so it's kind of loud, so you can hear it inside the cabin.
Yeah, but eventually you'll get used to it, and it'll just be natural sounds that you'll just overlook because you got accustomed to it.
If you live there, perhaps, but we go vacation there a couple times a year. It's great. It's great, renewing for your soul.
Do you go down the rapids? Do y'all get in the water?
I get out there and fish sometimes.
Okay. I like the inner tube in the mountains.
We've never gone down the river, but I'll walk out there. It's cold. It's usually cold as hell.
Yeah.
40 degrees. It's water coming right out of the top of the mountains.
Right.
But eventually my legs will get numb and I can't feel it anymore, so it's fine. And I'll fish out there.
Now, speaking of mountains, Montana and Utah both now pass constitutional carry in both states. So I was like, okay, is that a victory for the 2A community, or is that more going to hurt the 2A community? Saying like I'm on that fence with that one right there, because like when I read it, I was like, that's a good deal. Maybe not.
What sounds like a good thing? Tell me why are you thinking it might not be?
For instance, like they're trying to pass it's on one of the bills here in South Carolina for open carry.
Open carry, yeah. I saw that recently.
Yeah, and there were a couple incidents that took place in Charleston over the past couple weeks, and it was like back to back. 1 week there was one incident, and then there's another week, all gun related. And of course, one of the senators or congressmen, I can't remember how I read it, but was making a comment as to saying this is why we don't need open carry in South Carolina.
What the heck would that have to do with anything?
Yeah, but like it goes back into that whole gun control fight that's being pushed by the top.
Anything.
I'm saying? So it's going to come down to numbers, what I'm saying? But then again, the same people that are pushing and writing these bills are probably the same people that are not educated with firearms one bit. So it's like, okay, how are you going to tell me what to do and you don't know anything about what we're doing, And if you want to do true gun control, it should start with education. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a perfect place for it to start. I mean,
yeah,
it has to start there. And
when I say education, I mean put it in schools.
Your common sense gun control.
Yeah, put it in schools.
That's where it starts, is education.
Yeah. And when I say put it in schools, I'm talking about like grade school. You know what I'm saying? Because I honestly believe if you actually incorporate it younger, and then of course different programs will take it stepping up further, society will be a little bit more educated and a little bit more well-versed in versus what we have right now.
I really,
you have a lot of people playing catch up right now.
I really think so too. And everyone's, situation is different. But I started my son out, he's 14 years old now. But I started him out shooting, I think when he was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. We were shooting a suppressed 22 bolt action rifle in the backyard, and I was real specific about that for a lot of reasons, because he was young, and I didn't want it to be loud, because a lot of times the noise is intimidating to people and kids especially. So I had the gun suppressed, and that's another thing. People are think suppressors are bad. Oh, they're terrible. The criminals use them for whatever. I don't know of any kind of shooting I've ever heard of where someone's using a suppressor. But anyway,
anyway.
no, that's another issue. But it helps people become comfortable with shooting because the noise isn't there. The noise is kind of scary, until you get used to it. It's loud. It's a loud noise. Any kind of loud noise it's kind of makes you uneasy.
Right.
And the bolt action thing, it essentially is like a single shot rifle until you use the bolt action part of it. And being a rifle, a long gun, it's really easy to shoot. It's really stable. It's really easy to hit things, which I think is another important part of it. Pistols, handguns, it takes a lot of training and practice to be able to hit anything with a handgun.
Right.
And it's one of the challenges that I like about what we do with USPSA. But just to introduce someone to shooting in general, I felt like it was great. And I introduced my son to shooting so early on. He started competing with me actually probably when he was about 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
We started Steel Challenge. He started with a pistol, with a 22 pistol, and he got into some rifle stuff, and he got into USPSA after that, and got into some pistol and PCC stuff. And I have honestly never had to worry about safety wise anything to do with my son since he was about 5 years old.
Yeah, I remember like seeing him at the range a few times, and his awareness was spot on. It wasn't like anybody was correcting him, telling him, "Hey, don't do this," or "Look out for this." He was already aware of everything.
He has, even when he was younger, he has more awareness and better gun control than some of the adult shooters that I've seen out there.
Yeah. So
I think that's a great idea. Introduce them young. I mean, it's education. That's when their minds are most absorbent, like a sponge. That's when you learn as much as as you can.
Yeah, I'm totally agreeing with that one also. Now, Coach B and myself, she had asked a question a few weeks ago, like, I wonder how many background checks are being ran. Because like how you keep hearing it's the record number gun sales and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up finding out that there was a total of like 4,317,804 NIC background checks.
Wow.
Yeah. So
for what period of time?
Going into the end of 2020 into January. All right. So you remember January of 2020, they were saying that was the most it hit, how many background checks hit.
Everybody was concerned about the election.
Correct. Now going into 2021, now it's more from the pandemic, people possibly going to try to break into houses and everything like that. So that number shot up, it was a 60% increase.
Wow.
So
did it from 2020 even?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now what that tells me is a lot of people who was possibly totally against firearms were now converted over because now they see the importance of it.
Well, I hope so. And people see a firearm as a way to protect yourself, which is exactly what it is. It's a force equalizer.
Right.
And I hope people understand that, and I hope people want to get some training and maybe change their views on these terrible, dangerous firearms that will randomly go off by themselves while you leave them sitting around.
They got a mind of their own.
I don't know what people think.
Well, let's not discount like how many of that 4 million count were denied, of course delayed, and people didn't go back and pick up the firearm, not understanding the procedure or the rules, when a background check like that.
Oh, well, I'm sure I didn't think about that. I'm sure there was a lot of that because people that are not normally gun owners wanted to go buy a gun and they didn't know about all the thousands of laws and
Exactly.
regulations that gun owners have to follow. So I'm sure there was a lot of that.
Now, out of that 4 million, also there was 1,124,621 handgun background checks. You know, and then it went to 713,492 long gun related purchases. You know, so when you turn around and you look at it and you look at those numbers, I'm a firm believer in it's going to be a political ploy. They're going to use those numbers, but they're not going to tell you anything. It's we got a crisis going on. Yeah, the crisis is the citizens decided to take security into their own hands. They're not willing to wait for the police to come around, because from March of last year, if a couple cities that was reporting, okay, we are not coming to help you if it's X, Y, and Z, unless it's life or death, you know?
That was bad.
Yeah, that was bad. So that should have been an eye opener for a lot of people, you know? But I do believe a lot of people have a false sense of security only because of either one, how their life was catered, or the way the area they live in, there's no immediate danger right now, you know, versus as you can live 5 blocks from a neighborhood where a few people who don't have as much as the next neighborhood, guess which neighborhood is going to get hit? The people who don't have much are going to come into the people who have a little bit more, and they're going to base their survival needs off of that. Because
if it really comes down to survival, which it has been, you know, in certain areas, I mean, people aren't left with a choice.
Yeah. So like here where I live at, right down the road, there's like 3 grocery stores going towards the east, right? And each grocery store had at least 2 reports that, like, for a while, it was like from March until November, it was more than 2 reports on each grocery store that people was walking out of the grocery store and their groceries got taken. They got robbed for their groceries, and not robbed for money, robbed for their groceries. So imagine that.
It's sad, man.
Yeah,
in the United States of America.
Yeah, so that's where we're going. But the whole thing is jobs. If you want crime to decrease, jobs. And you got to remember when pandemic opened up, how many jobs were laying people off because of how the work structure was.
Millions. It was millions.
Yeah. So that's one thing. So there's your number quota right there that you was looking for there, Coach B.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just in case anybody's wondering, don't come rob me when I'm leaving the grocery store.
Won't be a good day. 0.85 seconds later, it won't be a good day.
Won't be a good day.
All right, so now
pick someone else.
Now, let me get your honest opinion on this one. Okay, so tell me what you honestly think of this after I make this statement. Bank of America turned over firearm related purchases over to the feds. What's your thoughts on that? So if you bought something in relation to your firearm, whether it was a magazine, a front sight post, a red dot, or even a new firearm, and you bank with Bank of America, they turned your information that showed that you purchased firearm related material over to the feds. How do you feel about that?
I don't think that's right. I mean, why is the feds asking for it?
Oh, you know exactly why they're asking
for
it.
No, but I mean, it's like I wouldn't agree with it. No.
What's your thoughts on it, Dave?
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that is real. I'll actually find an article again and I'll send it to you.
I don't bank with them. I think it is utterly disgusting to be in our country and something like that is happening. I really do.
Yeah, well, you got to remember how many other people were cutting off purchases. Like PayPal was one of them. So if you was to purchase anything from a company that sold anything in relation to firearms, it was like they was not allowing that sale to go through. you know.
Wow.
That's something that, I mean, honestly, that is something that goes against the foundation of our country. That's there's nothing illegal about buying a firearm or a front sight post for a firearm. It's completely legal.
Yeah, it is, but I don't think that's right that
no,
an organization like that is doing that.
They're contributing to the whatever anti-American politics that someone is trying to pursue there. I don't know. That is disgusting to me.
Yeah. So if anybody out there actually experienced something like that, because I haven't experienced anything like that, like purchasing anything, material or anything, you know, but then again, you know, like I said, when I talk to companies, I'm getting it directly from the company, and it's like, okay, we'll do this later on. You know what I'm saying? So I directly never had that issue when purchasing something, like a sale got denied or anything like that. But I'm curious to hear from anybody who possibly had that experience, you know, just to hear it firsthand. And how did you handle it? How did you feel about it? You know what I'm saying? Because you have that look on your face like, I can't believe that is real.
No, well, that's why I asked you, is that real? Is there something you came up with?
No, I just showed Coach B that, you know what I'm saying?
I'm thinking that's why I stopped banking with Bank of America a long time ago.
I stopped banking with them because I felt like I couldn't keep up. You know, like,
no, they had some scandals and stuff going on years ago too, but
yeah, my checkbook never balanced out compared to theirs.
That's why I left them. Exactly.
Dude, yeah, we're selling some credit cards under without people's knowledge, and there was some shady stuff going on.
Federal kickbacks. That's right. Oh yeah. Now, do you honestly think HR 127 shows hostility towards law-abiding citizens?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it shows. Hostility towards law-abiding citizens. It doesn't do anything to prevent crime, to stop crime, to keep firearms or weapons out of criminals' hands. It's just to make money. It's just taxing of law-abiding citizens. That's it. It is not a gun control measure whatsoever. It's just a way to make money.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Coach B?
I agree.
She's not going to tell you how fired up she got about this.
It's ridiculous.
It was like a 4-day period. Every day she would say something else about this bill. And I was like, man, she's really getting into this. So go for it.
No, I had someone, I saw a post on Facebook, and it made me go in and research the bill. And so I went in and I read it, because whatever was posted, I was like, there's no way that's correct. Because it was saying that there was going to be an $800 tax or whatever, right. But it was saying per month. And whenever I went in and read, that wasn't the case. So I replied back and put all the different, talking points with it. Mm-hmm. But that was honestly the first time that I actually read the bill. I've heard the different things that people talk about and, say about it. But just reading it, one of the main things that bothers me with it is the personal data that's going to be displayed for everyone to see. Right. Like, no one should know
what's in my house,
and where it is in my house. And then my other thing is the psychological evaluation that goes along with it. Now, I have nothing to worry about, nothing. But it's just that you're going to evaluate me, and then anybody that is in my house, and then if I, an ex-spouse, you're going to evaluate them or ask them about me. Right. How many people will never get a firearm?
That's why they put that in there like that.
That is just
because how many spouses don't get along after the divorce?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, if that's what you got to bank on, like, oh Lord, we all in trouble because
because the government appointed psychiatrists, right? That proposed that would do these evaluations.
Yeah, but you're already banking. I mean, even that alone, right? So you're going against somebody who's already biased, right?
Yeah.
They're probably holding something against you for something that happened in a relationship years ago, but they're still holding that grudge against you. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, let me tell you about this, you know what I'm saying? But how many people actually have an open line of communication, whereas they are still, cordial with their ex?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, but then again, how many people that just don't communicate with their ex, but when that pops up, it's like, okay, I'm not going to screw you over. Like, I don't have anything against the other, but okay, I never just seen this. I never experienced that. I think they're safe or whatever. All right, let it go.
I don't know that it would even matter because it sounds like
I think that's wrong, though. I think
they could just come up with whatever reason that they felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Would prevent you from owning a firearm.
Yeah, and that's why that was put in there, to be the roadblock. It's gonna be the roadblock.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that I saw was like it was talking about mental illness, and it said that would include depression. So if you've ever been to the doctor and was diagnosed with depression or said that you felt like you were depressed or whatever the case may be, that right there could be the reason for you not to get denied.
Yeah. So it's about 100% of people in the world.
Correct.
So basically, you're not allowed to feel sad no more.
If they've ever lost a loved one or lost a pet,
can't feel sad.
No, you can't.
That's what he's saying. Don't feel sad.
Or at least don't go to the doctor and get help. I mean, that's really and truly what is being said, is that you can't talk about it, which is an issue. Is that you can't go anywhere to get help.
Which would lead to worse mental illness.
Correct.
So, like when we came back from Iraq the first time, like the 2003 invasion, when we came back the first time, what we noticed was anybody who stated like they was having an issue off of what they seen or what they did overseas, they was putting them out the military. All right. And then after a while, nobody was saying anything about like, okay, I'm having this issue or this was bothering me, whatever. It wasn't until recently. And when I say recently, I'm talking like 2014, 2015.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Before they made that turn, whereas now you can openly say, I need help.
A few years, yeah.
And then you'll get the help and you won't have to worry about getting kicked out. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, think about it. 2003, right? Because not everybody's built to handle that situation. And then 2014, 2015, 10, 11, 12 years.
Right.
Difference before that change took place. Right. But now, if that was something that took place in the military, don't you think the federal government, because all that information had to get pushed up, they like, okay, look, this is people in our society, what's going on? And it's like they're not talking to each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy.
No veteran would be allowed to own a firearm, I imagine.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, I don't. But they could blame it. They could blame anything that you had to do for the government to defend our country.
Well, I mean, I had a few cases where people tried to use that against me, but at the same time, it was more like, okay, look, I'm not being irate towards you or anything. You just don't like what I'm saying to you, and you're trying to make it out to be
totally
something different.
But
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I don't like about that. I mean, they could play anything around.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a wordplay game. It's a wordplay game. So
yeah,
it's sad. It's sad. But when you turn around and you look at it, okay, we're supposed to be top tier, lead by example, but that's not what's taking place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to call it now, because it's more like, man, you look to the left, you look to the right, which side is going to eat you the Pac-Man pellet first?
Oh, yeah, man.
So it gets crazy. It gets crazy.
It is getting crazy.
So, but what do we do? You know what I'm saying? The same thing I said beforehand. Get involved with your senators and congressmen. Call them on that phone number, email them if you have to, but get active with them. Let your voice be heard. That's the reason why you voted. You put people in office to support your better interests. So make them work. You know what I'm saying? That's why you put them in office. That's what your taxpayer dollars are doing. You know, put them to work. You know, but it's sad. It's sad overall.
It is sad.
Yeah. So.
But these guys work for us, regardless of what our current president thinks. They work for us.
Yeah, that's true. Now, for those of you who are looking at the podcast on the YouTube channel, and if you are listening to it on audio, take the time to head on over to the YouTube channel. The Mad Scientist is working on somebody's firearm.
Yeah,
it
check
is
this
an
out.
Atlas firearm.
Is a beautiful firearm right
other
here.
than it's blinding right now.
It is a little bit hard to see because it's chrome.
Man, I need my 100 HD goes on at this moment.
It's a little hard to see, but this one's a little bit different with the black grip. Everything else is highly reflective and a little difficult to see. But this is a Atlas Nemesis with the sight block front post there. It's part of the slide. It's been kind of milled down, and there's been a sight post threaded onto the barrel. This is one I was just adding a different thumb safety to it for a friend of ours that we shoot with, but this is just another one that's in process right now. This is a fantastic competition firearm.
Now, the one Nemesis that I did fire, actually I fired two Nemesis, and it was different loads between the two different ones. And of course, I felt the difference between the two different loads. But I was actually impressed with how well put together the Nemesis is.
Man, Adam at Atlas Gunworks has very, very much impressed me. I've handled and worked on a lot of different firearms from these custom gunsmiths, and Adam's craftsmanship and quality of work has highly impressed me. I'm very impressed with his firearms. He does some great work for sure.
Now, Coach B ended up getting a new trigger and trigger bow in the mail from a company that we can't talk about as of yet, but we'll be talking about this product that might be the new latest and greatest that will blow your mind.
This sneak peek right here. It's the same trigger.
Yeah, but this one has a little bit better options than that one.
But is it a short one? This is the medium.
I don't know you remember what size it was?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like I said, I took it out, I looked at it, and I was like, okay, cool. But I was more like, let's link up with, the Mad Scientist and let's play with this together.
I really liked him. I like those triggers a lot.
So that's the one thing, when you turn around and you look at it, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. So we got to get it on there so she can actually do her little field test on it and give her little review on it so she can actually be on camera when she does it instead of, don't put the camera on me.
Let's do it.
She wants to be videotaped when she's shooting. Wow.
Yeah, let's get it in there. That'd be great. It'd be great to get the feedback from it.
Oh, yeah. So I think it will be also. So, but we're gonna do a video review on that, and we just got to link up with the company that sent it to us and give them their feedback so they can say, okay, whatever, and then we put it out there. So probably within the next week or two, we might be handing that stuff over to you so we can actually do all that stuff.
We'll do it.
Yeah. So you got anything else you want to put out there, Coach B?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So
I do.
Again, happy birthday to Coach B. And if you haven't had the chance to say happy birthday to her, leave it in the comments below, or actually go ahead and email info@m-wtactical.com. And to let y'all all know, she is the one that handles all the emails anyway. So she will be seeing all the birthday wishes that come through. So flood the email, shut down the server just to say happy birthday to Coach.
Excellent. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has already written.
Hey, that's it right there. You got any last words there, Dave?
I do. What are we doing with the Blazon spot for the South Carolina Section Championship? We got to figure this out.
All right.
They're the sponsor for today's show.
Yes, they are. And so let's do this. You want to do a YouTube live Wednesday?
Hold on. I'll have to check my calendar.
Hey, do that. Do that.
The owner of that gun is coming by Wednesday to pick it up. But after that, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we're going to put this on Instagram and Facebook when we're going to do a YouTube live and an Instagram and maybe a Facebook live as well.
All right.
Whereas we're going to give a free spot to the South Carolina section, whereas the only thing you got to do is just show up and shoot. You don't got to pay anything. So we might have 2 spots, but as of now, we have 1.
1 for sure. Excellent.
Yeah.
So we're doing it this Wednesday?
Yes. That'll be like tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that enough time, Coach B?
Yeah. That enough time for you?
I don't know.
Oh,
Next,
Lord. Here we go with the admin.
Is it next Wednesday? Should we do next Wednesday?
So you want to do next Wednesday?
I think next Wednesday. So hopefully we have more listeners, more people out there.
Okay.
All right.
So
what's the date?
What's that, like the
I don't have my calendar
the
in front of me.
8th?
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now.
I don't have my calendar.
So this Wednesday is the 3rd. Next Wednesday will be March 10th.
Yep.
We got anything?
We're going to do it March 10th?
March 10th?
I say March 10th.
All right. So everybody, please send all the hate mail to info@m-wtactical.com.
All right. So
take place next week instead of tomorrow.
We'll know for sure by then if there's 1 or 2 spots.
Yes.
We know for sure there's 1, but there might be 2.
Correct.
And we'll know March 10th for sure whether there's 2 spots or not.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put all this information again on Instagram and Facebook. And if you are like listening to the podcast right now or watching the podcast right now, share it with your friends or anybody who you know that wants to shoot the match, that they could have the opportunity to win a free spot at the South Carolina section taking place 30 April through 2 May in Belton, South Carolina.
So what do we need to do? We just need to tune in?
Right now, just follow us on Facebook, Instagram at CSRA Shooters and at M_W Tactical. On Facebook, CSRA Shooters, and Facebook, M-W Tactical. And just look at the video that we're going to be posting throughout the week in regards to what we're going to do for this YouTube, Instagram, Facebook Live.
Excellent. And just join us next Wednesday.
Yes, that will work. So since Coach B makes all the plans, right? Is that good, Coach B?
Is it okay?
That's okay.
Okay, good.
Cool.
It's approved.
All right, good.
You know, when we be out there shooting matches and she be like doing the RO duties, she be the one, I'm in charge. So
she is, that's right.
You got to shoot. Label.
Somebody's got to be in charge.
Yeah, that's it right there. Now, going into the interview section, we have an interview this week with Robert Vogel. You know, so yeah, he has Vogel Dynamics. If you actually follow Taryn Tactical on Instagram, you always see him on his feeds, either on YouTube or Instagram. But Robert Vogel is a phenomenal shooter and shoots very well. And I think his instruction videos are on point.
He gets around in the Columbia area occasionally to teach some.
Yeah, and he actually stated in the interview, I think he said October. I think it was October. He said in the interview that he was coming in this area again.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, okay, so check out that interview that's coming up in the next segment, whereas me and Robert Vogel are talking, and he has a pretty interesting view on training. And then he talks more about like the trigger designs he has and his sight designs that he has.
He's a Glock guy, right?
Yeah, he's more of a Glock guy. Yeah, he's more of a Glock guy. And I think I made a decision on the carry optics thing. So but we're gonna talk about that next week.
Yeah, we need to save that for next one.
Yeah, we're gonna save that for next week. So but let's go ahead and bleed into this commercial break, come on back, and then jump into this conversation with Robert Vogel and see how that's gonna pan out. So are y'all cool with that?
Sounds good. See you guys next week.
Yeah, that's it right there. So everybody,
next Wednesday.
Yeah, so stay in your seats and turn the volumes up. And here are a few words from our sponsors.
Yo, 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 this is Keita Bussey, and you are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast.
What's up, good people? Thank you for taking the time and listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. Please go visit the M-W Tactical store at www.m-wtactical.com/store and help support our efforts by purchasing a shirt or two. If you haven't done so, go follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for M-W Tactical.
The gun cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The gun cleaners.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You know, you're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The gun cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
I'm Jason Pratt, Masterclass USPSA shooter, owner of Brass Monkey Bullets. If you're interested in competition bullets, visit www.brassmonkeybulletsllc.com or call me at 423-967-1063. For more information, my email is brassmonkeybulletsllc@gmail.com. Thank you.
What's up, good people? This is Michael Woodland from M-W Tactical.
This is Coach B from M-W Tactical.
And we are asking for your help with 2 Gofundme campaigns that we have started. The first one is we are making a professional movie, and it's going to be about our day-to-day life within the sport of shooting. Details about this campaign can be found by visiting gofundme.com/we are making a professional movie. The second campaign, we are asking for you to donate to give financial assistance for those who cannot financially get the training they deserve. Remember, there are a lot of first-time gun owners out there, and I am asking for everyone in the gun industry to come together and make our community stronger. For more details, visit gofundme.com/free firearms training.
Remember how important training is to keep everyone informed and safe.
All right, good people, we're back at it again. And on the interview portion of the M-W Tactical Podcast, we actually have someone I consider a living legend in the sport of shooting. This guy is a multiple champion over and over again. Once you look at his resume, it is so phenomenal. It was just mind-blowing to me. So let's take it back from 2002 to present. IPSC world champion, two-time IDPA world champion, four-time USPSA national champion, eight-time IDPA national champion, 10-time IDPA indoor national champion, two-time IPSC national champion, four-time Pro-Am professional champion, and the list goes on. The whole interview would be me rattling off this guy's resume. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Robert Vogel to the M-W Tactical Podcast. How's it going for you, Rob?
Hey, pretty good, man. Pretty good. A pleasure to be here, and thanks for asking me. So glad this worked out.
Oh yeah, man. So of course, I'm one of those guys, whereas I do like to talk firearms, but at the same time, I want to get the knowledge so I can further my shooting journey within the sport of shooting as well.
Sure. Yeah. No, definitely. It's all about that. None of us knows it all. So I'm still trying to learn stuff as we go too, doing this for a while.
By you learning, that means you're still a student of the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, the minute you think you know everything, that's obviously when you stop learning. So
yeah, exactly. So for the people who do not know who Robert Vogel is, how would you tell someone who you are?
Well, I mean, I guess just, background with how things got started for me. I grew up on a farm in Ohio. I was shooting since I was a little boy. I was probably about 15 when I guess really got into handguns, very interested in that. And about the same time, I decided I wanted to be a police officer. From the police side of things, I got out of high school, went to academy, got hired at 21. I've technically been a police officer for about 20 years. I did about all my 20s full time. That was like my real job, and just regular like second shift cop type stuff. I was on a SWAT team and firearms instructor. And then the last 10 years or so, 9 or 10 years, I've done this whole shooting thing full time. The competitive shooting, I guess that's obviously more what I'm known for. I started competing just out of high school, which has been like 20 years ago. So IDPA, USPSA, and I did, I had a lot of success early and was winning state championships within a few years, going to nationals a couple years after that, and ended up winning nationals. And to me, I tell people that the first 5 to 7 years of competitive shooting was just total hobby for me, like it is for most people. I'm spending all my money on bullets, match fees, travel. And I guess once I had won nationals and I was starting to get some sponsors and people started asking me to do classes. And so like 5 to 7 years in, kind of breaking even instead of spending all my money and like breaking even. And then people started with the classes, I started making money, and it just got to the point where I was having enough opportunities. I couldn't get enough time off the police department. So I left. I think it's been 9 years now that I left, and I've been, I guess I would consider myself a professional shooter in the fact that I'm making a living at it. I'm teaching a lot of classes, and I have product sites and triggers and things that I sell, and I am still competing. I don't compete as much as I used to, but I am still doing it some. But yeah, that's pretty much my life. These days I travel a lot, different like weekend classes all over the place. I go out of the country a decent amount too, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay, so now you said you started doing competition shooting when you were in high school, leaving high school. Now, was this USPSA or IDPA, or were you mixing the two up at that time?
Yeah, I shot my first match when I was 19, and I at that point I've been shooting handguns regularly for 3 or 4 years, but first match was IDPA. I shot IDPA for a year, and then I went to USPSA and then pretty much only shot that for a year, and then ever since then I shot both. So I learned to bounce back and forth. And in recent years I really haven't shot as much IDPA in recent years, but For the most part, I've IDPA, USPSA, and then IPSC is basically the same as USPSA. It's like international version. That's a little complicated to explain to people that don't really know much about that. But it's IDPA and USPSA. Obviously, it's always different. You're running courses of fire that are made up and dreamed up. It's not like most shooting sports are the same exact thing every single time.
Right.
And Olympic stuff, bullseye stuff, trap shooting, all that stuff is not saying it's easier or harder, but you're doing the same exact thing every single time. And what I've liked about IDPA, USPSA, of course, is that it is always different, and a little more thinking involved and strategy, and so that's just what I've always liked.
Okay, so now you had the childhood dream of becoming a police officer. Now you're doing in high school competition shooting. How did that transfer competition shooting going into the police force?
Well, I mean, I started competing about the year I was 19. So I guess a year after high school, I started shooting competition when I was in the police academy. So I really, I guess, started the whole police thing and the competition thing. I started that about the same time. But I mean, translating wise, the shooting skill set is the same. I mean, shooting a handgun fast and accurately. So, anything you do, if you even get to a decent level in competitive shooting, you're typically going to be, let's say light years ahead, but quite a bit ahead of the vast majority of, law enforcement shooters as far as skill level. So anything, the whole tactics mindset thing, that's kind of another animal, but shooting skills wise, everything I ever really had to do on a practice range of police SWAT team type stuff was a piece of cake. Very easy compared to, what you would see at matches and high level matches, especially.
Now, in the classes do you teach? Well, in the classes that you teach, do you actually encourage your students to do competition shooting, or do you tell them to sway away from it?
No, I always do. I mean, I always encourage to shoot competitively because, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so many ways to put pressure on somebody with a real gun in their hand. It's just, and if you can do that stuff, it's, again, the stuff in the police academy training, or it's just easy. I mean, I see people have qualified officers for years and stuff, and I see guys getting nervous, qualifying at the range for the police department, whatnot. And it's just like, again, that's easy compared to the competitive stuff. So you can do that. You can do the competitive stuff. That stuff's a piece of cake. And at the end of the day, you're getting experience shooting, fast and accurately, especially under a clock and all that stuff. So I totally encourage it and always think it's a positive thing. You have you have people out there that'll knock it and say this and that, whatever, about bad habits. I think that's largely unfounded. I mean, I'm not saying there's never any negative to it, but it's in my mind, at least 95% positive. It just makes all the shooting stuff at a subconscious level.
Totally agree. Buddy of mine, we have a disagreement amongst us about competition shooting. His whole thing is you won't be able to react until a beep goes off. And I was like, no, your beep is when your life is in danger, according to what the bad guy does.
Yeah.
So that's your beep.
Yeah. In my mind, I mean, we're human beings, and we can, if you're fairly intelligent, you can differentiate between different situations. And the whole argument with people, I think, against competition is, well, you're not doing the exact same thing. You got the buzzer, you got to unload and show clear. And so if you do that in a gunfight, well, show me where somebody, I'm not saying it's never happened, like show me where somebody in a real gunfight did some kind of a competition only move and got themselves killed. And if you can show me one of those times, for every one of those times you can show me, I'll show you 50 times where the guy got killed because he just couldn't shoot, because his grip, trigger control, hitting the target, he couldn't do that. And that's what competition shooting teaches you. In mind, it's similar almost, I think, to the whole fighting UFC type thing. Well, in real life, you're not wearing gloves, and you're not, you can't eye gouge and do this, so you shouldn't do.
Right.
I kind of see it a little bit like that. It's a convenient excuse for not being very good.
Yeah. My whole thing is competition shooting, it puts more stress on you than, well, probably the equal amount in a real world situation, right? The only difference is the real world situation, reality hits your life or their life. That's
Yeah.
so it's going to
And
either push you or have you run.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, pressure is pressure to a certain extent. And a lot of this stuff in real life, I mean, as a cop, you know, full-time 8.5 years, the times I can think of a handful of times that were, you know, fairly dangerous type stuff. A lot of it comes down to how much time you have. Most of the times that the dangerous situations I was in, there was no time to get nervous. Sometimes there is. Sometimes like, we're going to this building, this guy's got a gun, you know, half an hour beforehand you're going to do it. There's a buildup. You can get a little bit nervous. A lot of times it's just like you're kind of in normal mode and this happens. Right. And then there's no time to get nervous. And the competition stuff, there's definitely time, like, you know, building up, and especially at nationals and worlds, and, you know, there can be a lot of pressure. And so there's a lot of different aspects to it.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Now, let's take it forward when it comes to shooting a firearm, a handgun specifically. Between the two, trigger or sights, which one do you think is more important, whereas a beginner should learn, than what's more important for a more advanced shooter to learn?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously definitely both, but I can definitely say I think what people have the most trouble with, the hardest thing to learn and master, which I really have to kind of consider the number one thing, would be trigger. Mm-hmm. That is just, especially on a handgun simply, and I give a whole spiel about it in my classes. I spend a lot of time on it, just being able to work the trigger, have the trigger finger work, you know, somewhat separately and independently from the rest of the hand and fingers. And especially you start shooting fast, and so many guys, I mean, it's they're at the same time as they're moving that finger, those other fingers, the rest of the hand's moving a little bit, and it, you know, the whole low left thing going on with right-handed shooters. Mm-hmm. That is the hardest thing for people to really master.
Right.
So, you know, the sights thing, that's another thing too. I mean, it obviously depends kind of on the distance and whatnot, but definitely the trigger number one. I've really always felt that way, at least probably the last 10 years.
Man. So when I, you know, shoot USPSA, of course, and I had moved up and I ended up getting an STI, DVC-L M40, and, you know, shooting it for like 6-7 months. My buddy, who's the co-host of the show, Dave, he was more like, hey, I think it's time for you to go to a lighter trigger. So I was like, okay. Of course, I didn't know how light the trigger was, because, you know, when you buy that gun, it's like 2.5 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So went to a lighter trigger, and I want to say, man, it was like 3 or 4 matches in a row I was DQing.
Yeah.
I was coming out extra slow just to be cautious and everything. And then when we made the decision to put back in like another trigger, we went with a harder trigger. So
this is
now,
in STI?
Yeah, still in the same STI, but now we're at a 5-pound trigger, you know? So I was rocking it with that one. And then I ended up getting a new gun, a Brazos Custom, which went back to a 2.5-pound trigger.
Yeah.
And it was like, it took me about 3 weeks to get used to that. So
yeah,
man, that's like crazy, like how that little bit makes that big of a difference.
That's, you know, you go to 2.5 roughly to 5. It's a big difference. And a lot, so much of it's what you're used to. I mean, it's, somebody's trained on a 5-pound trigger and they've spent a lot of time on that, and hand them a gun with a 2-3 pound trigger, and it's going to be going off early. You're going to might have some problems, but you train enough on that, you know, 2.5 pound trigger after a while, then that's your sensitivity level is going to develop to that gun. Right. And then I really think after a while, you won't have any more danger of that 2.5 going off in the 5, but it's just a matter of time that you put in on that. And I've gradually over the years gone lighter and lighter in the triggers, and just there is definitely a performance difference when you start shooting fast at distance and at harder targets.
Right.
That's when it makes more of a difference. You shoot full size targets, 7, 10, 12 yards, doesn't make a lot of difference. You start shooting, you know, partial targets or 20, 25 yards, and you're trying to do that fast. Mm-hmm. You can definitely, gains some performance and some time with a lighter trigger. I mean, there's a reason that obviously the vast majority, pretty much everybody at the top, right. Some people have lighter triggers than others, but nobody's shooting a really heavy trigger at the higher end of things, right. Competition wise. But
now, out of all your competition handguns, what's the lightest trigger out of all of them?
Well, I mean, I've got a bunch of guns, obviously. I've got some triggers right down about 2 pounds. Okay. With a Glock trigger, it depends on how you measure it. If you measure it at the bottom of the trigger, the middle of the trigger, it's because it's a pivot trigger. So and a Glock, if it breaks, let's say it breaks at 3 pounds in the middle of the trigger, it will actually break closer to 2 pounds at the bottom of the trigger. Right. So if somebody's telling me I got a 3 pound trigger on a Glock, right? My first question is, well, is that from the middle or is that from the bottom? So on an STI or something different, it's a different animal, so it doesn't matter where you measure it. But yeah, 2 pounds. I mean, if I can get them down to that reliable, then that's where I would like. Now I could shoot a 3 or 4 pound trigger just fine, but if you're splitting hairs, can I tell the difference a little bit? Yeah, I mean, I can.
Oh man, that's remarkable to shoot like that light.
There's a lot more work involved too. Once you start getting light, it's just there's a lot more work involved, and a lot more things can go wrong, and right. You just got to know what you're doing a lot more with the guns.
Now, let's take it to the sights. All right, so back when I was really trying to figure out a few things, I figured if you were to take a rear sight and make it a little bit bigger, but then make your front sight a little bit wider, whereas you don't see the light, I figured that will make it faster for you because all you're doing is really looking for no light to do it. But your philosophy is a wider rear sight, a thinner front sight, whereas you can see more light, and you saying you can pick up the target faster or pick up the front sight faster.
Yeah, I mean, when you're shooting fast, you think about it, you're shooting 4 or 5, maybe 6 shots a second. If you shoot a 20 split, that's 6 from the first shot to the 6th shot is 6 shots in 1 second. And you're trying to see that front sight, like literally going back and forth, up and down, maybe 5 or 6 times a second sometimes.
Right.
And when you have more daylight, when you have more space around that front sight, which is, from a bigger, wider, deeper rear notch and a little bit narrower front, you can keep track of that front sight faster. Now, if you're just, Joe Blow going to the range and standing there shooting pop cans and trying to shoot a bullseye target, a tighter sight picture can be a little more accurate possibly for slow fire type shooting. But when you start running that gun fast and trying to aim fast, that's where I notice a big difference for sure. Like the stock Glock sights, personally, I think are about the worst. I can do all right with them, right. But I can just tell, I can't see them as fast as I can mine or some others that are similar to mine.
So let's say this, okay? But before we go to that portion,
sure.
Triggers and sights. If a company was to come to you and say, okay, we want your input on this, what does it take for you to give the Vogel stamp to say, okay, this is ready for marketing, or okay, I'm willing to work with you, but you got to do X, Y, and Z?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a little complicated. It's just a matter of what I right now, as far as me, like sights wise, I do have my own sights. So I have a machine shop that makes them for me, and it's Vogel Dynamics, the world champion Glock pistol sights. And right now I'm making for MMPs too. But so I do have like my own sights. So like, that's what I endorse. That's what I would put out there. Trigger wise, Glock, I have glocktriggers.com. Jeff Wilson over there. He's been a great guy for years. And in that product, they have a Vogel trigger. Now, in this case, it's their product, and I'm endorsing it. So it's I get a commission on it, whatnot. But and that's has done which basically started with me talking to Jeff. That's probably been 10 years ago or something like it, maybe more, and telling him what all I do to my triggers. And he kind of came up with the idea to make that and do the same thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's just all in the details. Like I said, with the sights, the whole, narrower front, bigger rear notch, and certain sight height, and the trigger, just getting it lighter and cleaner and consistent. And Glocks, I've shot Glocks now for a little over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I've shot a little bit of everything over the years, but that's what I've shot. So that's what I know mostly. And yeah, like I say, that's what when I'm talking about all this stuff, sights and triggers, I am primarily talking about it on a Glock pistol.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's stick with USPSA, and I'm going to say the division, and you tell me, what do you think would be the better firearm for that division? All right?
Okay, sure.
And of course the setup, if you want to go deeper into it. All
okay.
Right? So let's start off with single stack.
Yeah, single stack, which that's one I have not done. I mean, obviously single stack, you're shooting some kind of single stack 1911, right? And it used to be where a lot of guys shot major. Nowadays, not everybody's shooting minor because 10 rounds instead of 8 rounds. So some type of a single stack 9mm, you get 10+1 in the gun. There's so many out there nowadays. I cannot tell you should go to this company or that company. I'm trying to think how many. I think I have 2 or 3 in the safe, and they're all guns that I've won.
Right.
So I have never went out and bought a single stack gun to compete with myself. So that's about all I could probably say on the single stack thing.
Now, have you shot the single stacks that you won?
That I've got the one I have. It was a 45. It's a 45 Smith & Wesson that I won. I think when I won the Nationals in 2009.
Right.
I've shot that a bit.
Okay.
And I've shot a bunch of guys' guns in classes and whatnot. But 1911s are definitely they're more high maintenance. So overall, I see more of those jam probably than just about anything else, as far as just not running. At the end of the day, you got to typically get them to somebody that can work on them right, just to get them running. That's the main thing.
Okay. Production.
I mean, production. I definitely have shot production a lot. Glock 34, and that was my go-to gun there.
Right.
And sights trigger and all that, lighter recoil spring.
Right.
But yeah.
Revolver.
Revolver. Yeah, I've never shot. I grew up actually shooting revolvers, my first handguns. I was like 15, 16, 17, but I never competed. Once I got into competition, I never competed with a revolver. It used to be that what was the 625 Smith & Wessons that everybody shot. Now they the rules kind of changed or whatnot, so everybody's shooting minor now with 8 rounds. I'm not even really can't remember which model Smith & Wesson those are, but that's pretty much what everybody shoots.
Okay.
In revolver.
Right.
30
Open?
with 38 super. Yeah. Open's another one that's there's not really a Glock that's going to work real well in open. You shoot the USPSA open major. Nobody's really ever figured that out to shoot a Glock real well. So you get a bunch of companies, guys, 38 super, or some guys shoot 9 major if you can get it to run right.
Mm-hmm.
But some kind of obviously 2011 or whatever Infinity, or there's just so many different options out there with typically a Seymour or whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Limited.
Limited is what I've shot more in recent years. And for a Glock, most people don't shoot a Glock. Majority of people are going to shoot, again, 2011 wide body STI or something like that in 40. I shoot a Glock 24 in 40, which is a 6-inch Glock. And I put quite a bit of weight on it. I mean, I'm putting a heavier mag well and actually use it's not a light, but it's a body of a light with some weight on it out front. So the gun actually weighs more similar to what an STI does.
Right.
Getting around 40 ounces because you're shooting a 40, you're shooting major. So you got more recoil to deal with.
Right.
So my limited production guns, sights, trigger wise, in the frame, the gun is literally the same. It's just a 40. For my limited gun, it's a heavier gun and it's 40 caliber, and that's really about the only difference. And it's got a mag well, which I use really more for weight than anything. And you're using longer mags, so the reloads are a little different.
Right. PCC.
Yeah, PCC. I don't have a PCC gun. I've shot plenty of rifle. I still shoot rifle some, but obviously everybody's AR platform with a 9, with the big long mags where you don't have to reload basically. So some kind of configuration of that with obviously some kind of a red dot.
Right.
Everybody's using there.
All right. And carry optics.
Carry optics. Yeah, I mean, if I were going, I've never really got into carry optics. I do have a carry optics gun, and essentially it's it's a 34 with a dot on it. So it's just like taking your production gun and putting a dot on it, and then you can use the 140 millimeter mag. So you're instead of getting the 10 round thing, you're getting 22, 23 rounds in your mag.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, if I were to shoot carry optics, that's what I would be using. There's obviously a lot of guys are using it, like the SIGs, the 320s nowadays, or CZs or something like that. Those are real popular.
Now, I'm looking at diving into carry optics next because like I said, I've only done limited.
Yeah.
And carry optics is what I want to dive into next. And of course, I have a Walther Q5 and it's already set up, whereas you can put a red dot on it. I don't have a red dot for the handgun, but I'm still researching what I want to do. And like maybe a week or so ago, I came to the conclusion what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Taryn and say, hey, what can you make far as the best carry optic gun, and go from there and then do my research backwards instead of going in and doing hands-on trial and error, in a match.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of options there. Taryn, I don't know everything Taryn does, but obviously a lot with Glocks. And what I like with the Glocks, you have a better bore axis than most of the other guns. I mean, you're just bore, it sets lower down, closer to your hand. When you really run that gun fast, it just shoots a little flatter. When I shoot just about everything else besides the Glock, I know your typical whatever, your 1911 SIG, CZ, even whatever, the bore sets higher. I can feel a little more muzzle flip. And that's probably the main thing that I like. You do have to have, on a Glock, since it's generally a lighter gun, you got to be more aggressive in your style. You got to have a better grip, a little bit stronger hands. The trigger on a Glock, you're typically not going to really get quite as good as you can get on some other guns. So I think you have to have trigger control mastered a little bit higher of a level to shoot a Glock well, compared to, especially some of the single action guns with just lighter triggers that break cleaner, like kind of like a piece of glass. I mean, I see all the time, if a guy shoots a 1911 versus shooting a Glock, he typically just, the whole jerking the trigger low left type thing, it's just happening more with the Glock usually than it is with some of those other guns. So that's just something you have to master a little more if you're going to be good with that.
All right. So now we know how you feel about all the divisions, what you'll do in all the divisions in a sense of speaking. We know a little bit more about your history as far as once you started competition shooting, and then your work history until you went full time. What about your training classes? What does it take? Do you have a prerequisite? Where all do you travel to? And if people want to get to come to your class or have you host a class, what all has to take place?
Sure. Generally, well, as far as prerequisites, there really is no prerequisites in most of my classes, as long as somebody is safe. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not, obviously not people that just picked up a gun for the first time last week, but as long as somebody, the main thing is the whole safety thing. If they're competent enough to, not be waving the gun around and have any kind of real safety issues, then we're going to be fine there. I go pretty much wherever the demand is. So I live in Ohio. I actually have a range at my house. I do a lot of like smaller private classes at my house. So a lot of people come from all over. Typically, 1 to 4 people private type classes at my house. The bigger classes, which tend to be, 8, 10, 12, maybe 15 people, somewhere in that range. A lot of those are 2-day classes. And again, that's like off the top of my head. I mean, I was just in California a couple times. I actually was just in Italy last week and supposed to be going to Texas here coming up in a few weeks. And it's all on my website, but it's kind of hit or miss. But yeah, kind of wherever the demand is at. As far as, somebody wanting to set up a class is pretty simple. I get emails from different people and like, hey, if you've got a range, the first thing is obviously having a range that can host the class. And then, hammering out like a date that would work with me and the range. And from that point, it's just a matter of, getting the signups, getting the students, and it's pretty simple to make happen. My classes, some of them I'm handling the registration and it all goes through my website. Other classes, whoever is hosting that, maybe handling it and whatnot. But it's end of the day, I guess, as far as that goes, it's just a matter of talking to me, and then we get something figured out. Okay. And getting it obviously advertised out to one of the most important things, of course, is just getting it out in that area, advertised to where people will hear about it, right. And which is all the whole marketing, social media thing typically.
Yeah. So the next time you actually come to Columbia, South Carolina, because in previous conversation before we started recording, you said you was in the area back in November. And yeah, I missed you by maybe a month or so. I can't remember if it was left or right, but
yeah, I think I've got another class, because I typically have the last 3 or 4 years at least, I have done a class there in Columbia right around the October-November timeframe. So I know I don't have my calendar in front of me. I'm sure it's either in October or November, but it's on my website.
Okay.
And that's the next time I'm coming there, unless something comes up before then.
Right. So if anything, when you actually come to Columbia, I would like to link up with you, shake your hand in person instead of doing it over video.
Okay. Yeah.
And then actually throw some bullets downrange, have a conversation.
Yeah, sure. No, I hope that works out. But yeah, I'll say I'm pretty sure I'll be coming back there and actually, yeah. Just take me just a second here, but I'm pretty sure I got it. Supposed to be, October 2nd and 3rd.
Okay. That'll work.
South Carolina. That's the next one I got scheduled there. So
okay. Now if the good people want to actually contact you, follow you on social media, how would they do that?
Well, I mean, I got not huge on social media, but obviously I have, Facebook and Instagram. It's just Robert G. Vogel. Pretty easy to find. Or just my website's vogeldynamics.com. But if you just type in Robert Vogel into Google, my website comes right up and my contact information is there. Email, I mean, all the information about my classes and stuff, but my email is there, and actually my phone number is there too. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of and find if somebody wants to.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, YouTube channel too. I don't put a whole lot of stuff on there, but it's just Robert Vogel. If you type that in, that would come up.
Gotcha. All right. So if you head on over to YouTube and just put in Robert Vogel in the search, and then look at the videos that come up. And as I said at the beginning of this segment, this guy is a phenomenal shooter. And of course, when you put his name in, he has a lot of videos that talk about instruction from an instructor standpoint, as far as understanding the grip, understanding the sights. But it's just enough to get your palate wet to get you to come to the class so you can actually master the techniques that he is talking about. So once again, Rob, I would like to thank you for coming on to the M-W Tactical Podcast. And if anything, in October, I'm going to see if my schedule is clear, and then, pan it out whereas I can come to your class. And then after that, we'll bring you back on the show, and then we'll do a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah, man, that'd be great. I hope that works out. It was a pleasure. I'm always I'm always open to do these sorts of things. So, set it up, wasn't doing anything tonight, and get in here, talk about guns and all this stuff. So it's all good to me.
That's it. That's all I'm about. So if you will, please stay in your seats, and here are a few words from our sponsors.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, this is Brian Conley at Hunters HD Gold. If you've never tried Hunters HD Gold, then I challenge you to find me at a match next year. Go to the website under scheduled events, find out where I'm going to be. Come meet me in person and demo a pair for yourself. Find out why shooters across the United States are changing to Hunters HD Gold to get 43% more light to their eyes, better contrast, eyes that are not fatigued at the end of the day based on the colors that we use, and find out the real meaning of why they change so you don't have to. So check us out on our website, huntershdgold.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the range soon.
Mental health and guns. At Walk the Talk America, we are working with both the mental health community and the gun industry. Created by a gun industry veteran, Walk the Talk America seeks to raise awareness and create change through suicide prevention and firearm safety without legislation. We strive to eliminate the prejudice that firearms and mental health face. For more information and to support Walk the Talk America, please visit walkthetalkamerica.org.
The Gun Cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The Gun Cleaners.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The Gun Cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result, is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us on the M-W Tactical Podcast. Remember, a new podcast comes out every Tuesday. If you can't wait for Tuesday, go listen to past episodes to catch up on what you missed. Make sure you visit www.m-wtactical.com and see what all is offered on the site, where you can even purchase M-W Tactical apparel. But please, go to our Facebook and Instagram page and follow us on our journey in the sport of competition shooting in the realm of the 2A community. Until next week, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun.